The euro, which is legal tender for 19 European countries, has dropped more than 11% in value since the start of 2022, when 1 euro equaled about $1.13.
We have just had a natural disaster. We have had a massive COVID fiscal impulse. What does your world say of how we extract ourselves from a massive increase in the fiscal, a massive increase in debt?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of policy of the past couple decades, and frankly, a lot of the academic thinking and literature was predicated on we'd never have a war, we'd never have a big supply shock, interest rates would never go up, and guess what? Oh, and there'd never be inflation. And it's happening, and we have to make adjustments that people haven't seen for a long time. And I think it's going to be much harder than it was in the 1980s. The political environment's changed, the economy has changed. As you said, there's much more debt, the stock market's really high. People are very worried about inequality. It's going to be a heavy lift to try to treat this like a classic Keynesian demand shock.
How do you actually weaken the dollar?
Well, I mean, the dominance of the dollar in trade and transactions would be there whether the euro, they're $150 per euro or the opposite. I mean, that's a given. But, right now there's this concern that no matter how troubled the U.S. is, there are other countries that are in worse shape. So it's actually, going to take a change. I think a lot of countries are having to react because inflation goes up when the dollar strengthens. But paradoxically, we don't get that much benefit in the United States from the stronger dollar because so much of trade is priced in dollars, but the rest of the world has to react.
Right now, especially as many are forecasting potentially a recession.
So we've lived through a recession, 2008 and 9. We actually grew during the last recession. So that isn't what's scaring me today. It's really speed to market. We experienced supply chain issues in the fourth quarter of last year. It meant that spring was summer and summer was fall. And I think it was really about talking to our retailers, Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Neiman Sachs, and saying we need to partner. We know we're trying to get you these goods, and even to our direct-to-consumer site, we just have to be upfront to the customer and say we're working as hard as we can, and some things are truly out of our control.
They have wanted to co-opt Russia for containing China, but the continued sanctions on Russia have only pushed it closer to China. And in a double blow for Washington, its trade war with Beijing has further brought Russia and China closer as they seek to forge deeper economic ties. Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping met in Moscow to decide, among other things, how to defang America's chosen weapon, the dollar. Looks like they're dumping it.
BRICS countries should drop the US dollar in favor of national currencies when trading between the bloc. The group of 5 emerging economies includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, as well as South Africa. Its industry ministers met this week via video conference. I'm joined now by SABC correspondent in Moscow, Lucy Taylor. Very good evening to you, Lucy. Thanks indeed for your time. So let's talk about first what was discussed during that video conference.
Well, this is Russia trying to challenge the control of the financial markets by the United States. These 5 countries, as you said, Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, are the BRICS group. And they were set up more than 10 years ago now as a bloc to try to challenge some of the power and control they perceived the United States and European countries to have over the world, including over the financial systems. And there's a way to step out from under those countries and start to work together to do that.